All right, welcome into SportsBIT. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Tuesday, April 5th. Big game breakdown will be the Pistons and the Heat. Cubs and the Angels and the Giants take on the Brewers. Hey, it's our first guest today, Rob Vino. He'll be on the deep dive with a bullpen discussion with Teddy and, of course, the play of the day. All that coming up. Bad beats and bad bets in a second. We start with the title game, the best finish you're ever going to see. Jenkins never has to pay for a drink ever again with Villanova. Page with the three. Jenkins at the buzzer. What a game. Great job by Jay Wright. And what a job coming up and drawing up that play to win it.
It felt like that last 5 seconds lasted about 8 minutes if you had a Tar Heels ticket in your pocket, like I did. You know what I mean? When it's like, okay, come on, tick, 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 but the tick didn't go fast enough for North Carolina. Heck of a shot, heck of a finish. And you know what, Paul? I mean, lost a bet on the game. Not happy about that, but sports is great, man. It's the best reality TV that there is. It doesn't matter if you won or lost a wager last night. If you didn't enjoy that game, I don't know what to tell you. You know, you probably shouldn't be watching this. I'm sure you're not watching this show because everyone that watches this show and everyone that loves sports knows what last night's game was. It was truly something special.
Yeah. Well, Teddy, as was the case last night, it was the case for the whole tournament that Villanova just made a ton of shots again.
I mean, really, the truth of it, Paul, is that North Carolina did everything they wanted to do in that game. North Carolina, 16 offensive rebounds, Villanova 2. Ate them up on the glass. North Carolina, 16 assists, Villanova 6. Better ball movement. What did Villanova do? The same thing they did throughout the tournament. They hit shots, and everybody hit shots. 58% from the floor. That marked the third time in the last 4 games that the Wildcats have shot 58% or better. They shot 67% against Miami. They shot 71% against Oklahoma. That's a heck of a shooting performance in the tournament. And, Paul, how long has it been since someone shot that well in an NCAA title game?
Never.
Exactly.
That was an incredible performance. A couple of things too, and I thought the officiating was horrible. I'm sorry. With 35 seconds left in a 1-point game in the championship, I thought Booth traveled twice. They called a ticky-tack foul on Hicks like that, and the whole place booed. I mean, that was terrible. And then at one point they called 8 straight fouls on North Carolina. That call on Meeks when he's falling to the ground trying to grab a loose ball, they call a foul on him there. Even got a Bronx cheer out of the Tar Heel fans. I mean, I thought they did a horrible job to let these guys play. No one paid to watch you officiate, and you do not make that call with 35 seconds left in a title game where he didn't even touch him.
That one I'm with you. But, I mean, here's the truth of it, Paul. You know, officiating, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes you agree, sometimes you disagree. They're humans. They're just like you. They're just like me. They're just guys that have to run around the court and blow whistles. They're not going to be perfect. They're never going to be perfect. And if you waste your life bitching about the refs, you're going to, waste your life bitching about stuff you can't control.
Also, I will bitch about this. Again, I don't think there's a debate. You got to foul when you're up 3. Especially when you don't have much time left. Now you can say it was a double clutch 3, but it's the same thing with Arkansas, Little Rock, and Purdue. Hagen's hit a difficult shot. You gotta foul in that situation. How many times do these guys have to knock a 3 down before you realize foul? Maybe they miss a free throw, but with less than 10 seconds and maybe they're out of timeouts. At that point, if they hit a Northern Iowa from half court, so what? I live with it. I can't let these guys shoot a 3 in that situation.
I'm not with you. I don't agree, Paul. And not only do you have the risk of players doing the wrong thing, okay, which means fouling someone shooting a 3 and giving a team 3 free throw attempts, which is very possible. You're putting all kinds of nuance into it. Now you've got to get the ball in bounds against a pressure defense. You know, if you don't have timeouts, that can be a problem. If somebody hits a shot to tie the game or beat you, so be it. I'm not sending them the free throw line. That's just not how I would coach it.
All right. Well, we disagree on that. I would foul every single time. All right. What a great season, though. A terrific tournament and a great end of the college basketball season with that game last night.
So let me ask you this, though. You
Yep.
had a Tar Heels ticket in your pocket, right?
Yes.
Did you enjoy the game?
No, it was terrific. It was the best finish I'm ever. You can't top that. I was thinking about it. The only thing that could top that finish was if Gordon Hayward hit the half
Hit the shot against Duke?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good against evil. That's it. That's the only thing I can think of. But we could watch basketball till we're 100. We're not going to see a finish like that again.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had, obviously I had a North Carolina ticket, and I did enjoy the game, but I'm never gonna look at that. Oh, that was the best game ever. Nuh-uh. I lost my
Right.
bet. It was okay.
Well, a terrific finish at least. Right. All right. Time for bad beats. But before we do that, all right, welcome to the baseball season,
Well,
Teddy.
this is a bad beat. Welcome to baseball season.
Oh, I know, the rain, the snow.
You got
it's
rain
like,
delays. You got rainouts. You got food
Yeah.
poisoning off pitchers. Oh my goodness, Paul. Welcome
Yeah,
to baseball.
that's a bad
season.
beat. Sonny Gray with food poisoning. He misses his start. The Reds and the Phillies. If you had under 7.5, 2-1 Phillies, bottom of the eighth. Well, wait a second. Here comes a 5 spot by the Reds, and they win 6-2. 2-1, bottom of the eighth. You're supposed to cash that ticket, Teddy.
Yeah, but you have to wonder: is there any such thing as a bad beat involving the Phillies bullpen? This is not the first time, or it is the first time the Phillies bullpen melted down. I guarantee you it will not be the last time the Phillies bullpen has melted down. What about the title game? What about the total for the title game?
Oh, yes.
Page with the double clutch 3 to tie it.
Mm-hmm.
If he misses that shot, the under cashes with room to spare. It was 151, bet down to 149, 150. Page misses a 3. Yeah, you got room. Nova can hit a couple free throws. You're good. You're going to cash that ticket. Page hits the 3, and then Jenkins hits a 3 on the other end. Oh, last 6 seconds of the game, 6 more points. No more under cash. The title game goes over. That's a tough beat.
Yep. Also, the Atlanta Braves. They had the lead in the 9th inning. Bases loaded, 1 out. Routine fly ball to center. Worth is out. Ball beats him. He's got out. Nope. He's going to be out. Time and close. Perzinski drops the ball, and then they score in the 10th and hold on and win. Braves should have won that game. AJ couldn't hang on to the ball. Tough beat if you had the nice price with the Braves in that one yesterday, Teddy.
Yeah, and again, we talked about the Phillies bullpen. Bullpen is going to be a recurring theme on this show throughout the baseball months. Here's the Braves bullpen. Last year they had 29 losses, a 4.69 ERA, and only Colorado had a higher ERA. You can blame that on Coors Field. It was a ridiculously bad bullpen last year, and the hunch is it's going to be just as bad this year.
Yes, bad bets. You got to start with the Padres. Nice debut for Andy Green. Jesus, 15-0, the most lopsided opening day shutout in Major League Baseball history. Mercy.
What about we talk about Arizona a little bit. Greinke. I mean, they were betting against Greinke hand over fist. Something came out pregame that he wasn't right. Arizona was bet down from minus 230 to minus 175. Gave up 6 runs in the 3rd inning. Here's the question. Why weren't they betting the total over with the same steam? That total flew over if you had Arizona or under. You didn't have a right side with either one.
Yeah, and you got the Brewers. They lose at home 12-3. Mad Bum and Posey both had the flu. It didn't matter. They just did whatever they wanted. And Span had a huge game. More on him coming up later in the show. Up next, big game breakdown. We'll start in the association and get to 2 games in Major League Baseball on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today. Welcome back on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today. Big game breakdown. We start in the association. A huge game. Pistons on the road to take on the Heat. Miami laying 6 if Wade plays. And when you look at the Eastern Conference standings, Atlanta and Boston tied for the 3rd seed. Charlotte and Miami at 44 and 32 are tied for the 5th seed. Indiana and Detroit both 41 and 36. Pacers are the 7th seed because they win the tiebreaker. But the Bulls, 2 games back, they are the 9. So this is a big game. But this is huge for Miami because they just spanked Cleveland a couple weeks ago at home. And with a healthy Wade, they can make some noise in the playoffs. Although it's a big difference, Teddy, if you're going to be the 3 seed as opposed to the 6 seed.
Yeah, and with a half game separating Atlanta and Boston tied in the 3rd seed for the 3 seed, and Charlotte, Miami tied for the 5th and 6th seed. This is going to be fun down the stretch in the Eastern Conference because these games are meaningful. But one thing I can tell you, seeding is not the same type of motivator as making the playoffs. Seeding is for guys like me and you to talk about. Say, if they win this, they get the seed. The players are like, we're in, give us a chance. Who we going up against? And when you talk about the East, the only thing you don't want to be in the East is the 8th seed. You don't have to take Cleveland. Everyone else in the East is certainly in the beatable category. But Miami's really hoping that Dwayne Wade can put on that home jersey. He missed the last 2 games of their road trip. And, with him healthy, are they live to win the East? I think they are. Someone's beating Cleveland. Someone is going to beat Cleveland, whether it's Atlanta, whether it's Miami, whether it's Boston. We've been throwing around teams. I do believe the Cavs are very vulnerable, and I think someone's going to beat them. Miami could be that team. But, again, there's a big difference between that number 3 and number 6 in that path to an Eastern Conference title. Wade, he's all banged up. Paul, you got that quote?
No, I don't. But I was gonna jump in. I like that we gave out Boston 17-1 to win the East early on in the show. I think it was the first week of the show that we gave that out after what they've done against Golden State and Stevens against Lou being a big mismatch. That looks like great value. One thing on Detroit, it's only their second road game since March 14th. Although a big win Saturday night in Chicago, so that can really help their confidence. Where are you at with the Pistons? Could they do something in the playoffs with the right matchup?
I don't think so. I don't think they're good enough to win a playoff series. I mean, the Pistons at times this year, their A game is good, but it comes and goes, particularly on the defensive end. They're shooting spotty. I like the makeup of that roster, and I do think there's hope for Stan Van Gundy's team moving forward. I like Reggie Jackson a lot, and obviously Drummond, emerging superstar in this league. But when you look at the teams that are ahead of them in the standings, I don't see them beating Atlanta 4 times in 7 games. The veteran teams with playoff experience, Miami, even Boston, I think Detroit would struggle against. They may cover some point spreads. I don't know they're going to win some games. Let me go back to that Dwayne Wade quote because it's important to talk about here after he missed those last 2 games. He's got a bad back. Quote, "The biggest thing is rest with a back bruise." This is what he said after practice yesterday. "What it is, it's just a deep bruise, and my neck is out of whack and bruised as well. It's just rest. That's all you can do. You just hope that you feel like you get enough rest. You're not going to feel 100%. I got some good work in today, and I want to see how I respond tomorrow when I get up. If I'm going to be sore or not, then I'll determine after that." I would think Wade's going to play, and if he does, again, we're talking about a spread in the 5.5 to 6 range for Miami. If he doesn't, this game's going to be a lot closer to pick 'em than it would be with D. Wade in the lineup.
All right, Major League Baseball, the Giants on the road against the Brewers. Cueto against Nelson. The Giants $1.35, a total of 8. Cueto's getting priced like an ace, and he was paid like an ace in the offseason. But look at these numbers, though. Look at this graphic. A different pitcher outside Great American Ballpark. In Great American Ballpark, 48-22 with a 2.91 ERA. Strikeout to walk ratio 3.6. Any other ballpark, a 500 pitcher with an ERA of almost 4, and you see the strikeout to walk ratio in that one, Teddy.
Yeah, but the one thing Cueto's going to like pitching for San Francisco as opposed to pitching for Cincinnati, he's got a lineup behind him. The Giants, that team's got potential, and we saw some of it yesterday on opening day. 15 hits, 5 walks, 4 different players hit a home run. Giants come out of the gate swinging. May not be as easy today against Jimmy Nelson. Here's a guy who didn't really have a lot of success as a rookie. He was a dead nuts bet against pitcher in 2014. Then last year, he spent a bunch of time working on a knuckle curveball, a nasty little pitch, and he spent all season trying to get it together, all offseason, I should say. But last year, you saw he shaved nearly a full run off his ERA. He went from 2-9 to 11-13. He was a competitive pitcher. That knuckle curve might be nasty for San Francisco, but it's one of those pitches where the guy's still early in his career throwing it. There are going to be days where it works. There's going to be days where it doesn't. And, of course, the Brewers' bullpen behind him, where they get rocked for 5 runs yesterday in the 9th, that could happen in any Milwaukee game. That is going to be a rough bullpen at Miller Park. And I think we'll get back to this game when it comes to play of the daytime, Paul.
Well, yep, one more game, Major League Baseball. Cubs $1.30 on the road against the Angels, total of 7.5. And best road records last year. Look at this graphic. The Cubs, number 1, 48-33. The Cardinals, Pirates, Texas all tied at 45-36. Number 2, the Royals were number 5, best road record. So how do we price the Cubs on the road, Teddy? Because we know they're the favorites to win it all, and all these Cub fans, they're going to take over when they go to opposing stadiums.
Cubs road games some of them are going to feel like home games. I'm telling you that. Year in and year out, this team has had the best fan base. And now, the Cubs mania here in Vegas is insane. It is absolutely insane for opening day. That's not just here. That's around the country. These road venues for Chicago will be played in front of very friendly crowds. They're going to get support all year long. They still don't get to bat last, but the bottom line is the Cubs are going to be a team that is going to attract a ton of betting market attention. And on the road, lots of guys are going to want to try to take them there because at home they'll be laying $2. And again, only Texas last year had a better ratio of road wins to home wins, which says that maybe this is the spot and the type of maybe you want to be betting Chicago on the road. I think there might be better value, certainly better value there than there is at home.
How about this Angels rotation? I mean, Weaver's was topping out at 82 miles an hour in spring training. Come on, Santiago, C.J. Wilson's hurt. I mean, what do you think? This rotation could be a mess.
Yeah, I mean, the question for tonight's game certainly is whether Andrew Heaney is legitimately a number 2 starter, and I'm not convinced that he is. You look at him through his first 18 big league starts, and he's a guy, again, he's got some nasty stuff, but he hasn't put it all together yet. Strikeouts per 9 inning, he's more than 1 behind the major league average. Not the elites, the average. The ground ball rate, that'll work in L.A. where the ball doesn't carry. It's not going to work on the road. Again, he's given up more than 60% fly balls through those first 18 starts. So, you need to either get strikeouts or ground balls for the markets to respect you. You need to get strikeouts or ground balls to win games. Heaney has been well below average in both of those categories. Those are likely to be problematic for him moving forward.
All right, somebody already has 5 good minutes, so we're going to do 5 great minutes. Up next with Rob Vino, we'll talk MLB bullpens. That's coming up on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today.
And let's welcome in Rob Vino as a guest here on SportsBIT for Tuesday. And Rob, I wanted you on as a guest specifically because you are what I like to call the most knowledgeable man about bullpens in America. Rob Vino from Rob Vino Sports. Welcome to the show.
Oh, glad to be here, Teddy. Hey, I'll take that praise any day of the week about the bullpen knowledge.
Well, when I first moved to Vegas in 1998, you were focusing on bullpens. It's almost 20 years later. You're still focusing on bullpens and talking about how in the modern era, and especially here in 2016, this is something I've been talking about a fair bit, Rob. It's really hard to beat baseball focusing on elite starting pitching. The markets have absolutely caught up with the advanced metric stats. If you look at the top 8 pitchers in strikeouts per 9 innings last year, the aces, they're great guys, the Clayton Kershaws and Chris Sales of the world. 7 of the top 8 lost money. The only way to beat baseball is to find something that the markets are undervaluing. And frankly, I think that's bullpens. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'd agree, Teddy, and you're right. It sounds like a long time when you say you've been talking about bullpens since the turn of the century. So we'll keep it to maybe 16, 18 years. But, yeah, it's something I started looking at long ago. I still believe it holds true. You can see the way teams are now beginning to copy the Kansas City Royals and try to have the game won after 6 innings and then lock it up in innings 7, 8, and 9. So it's real important. I'm a big proponent, Teddy, of relief pitchers' pitch counts. And really, that's all. The rest doesn't matter to me. How many innings you threw, all that other stuff. What's your pitch count? Obviously, you want relief pitchers that avoid contact. So strikeout specialists are prime. You want ground ball pitchers. Most of the time, your high leverage guys are brought into situations where they need to get a ground ball, either fielder's choice, force play, or double play ground ball to get out of jams. When you have that mix and when you have depth in your bullpen, you're going to be pretty good. We've got a list of them for this season, but that's basically what I'm looking for in bullpens.
Well, Rob, we've got 3 minutes and a ton to discuss, so let's start. I want your top 5 bullpens in Major League Baseball. Now, these are teams, in theory, that are going to be undervalued in the marketplace. They're going to be bet on teams, and we're going to be looking to bet them under the total as opposed to the bad bullpens, which you want to bet over. Give me your top 5.
Yeah, and 2 of these, Teddy, I think we're jumping the gun a little bit because there's injury concerns, but let's start at the top. Kansas City still exists as the best bullpen in the major leagues. Obviously, their depth and their ability and from setup to closer is, as good as any. The Yankees, when they do get Aroldis Chapman back, and if Andrew Miller is okay off of the small fracture he suffered, you have Betances, Miller, and Chapman will be the most powerful bullpen in the major leagues. There's not much to go with that, but that's plenty enough. The Baltimore Orioles, I rank right up there. Zach Britton's been very good with Darren O'Day as a bridge to closer the last few years. They've also got depth. The Pittsburgh Pirates, when Jared Hughes returns, are as good as any. Very deep, very good at getting outs late in the game. And I like the acquisition of Ken Giles for the Houston Astros. It makes Houston a very good bullpen, 8th inning and 9th inning, with Giles to Luke Gregerson and the guys before that, Pat Neshek and company. That's a very good bullpen as well. So I'd rate those my top 5.
Let's talk about the bottom 5 bullpens. These are teams that we're probably looking to bet against. They will be slightly overvalued in the betting markets, or their starting pitchers certainly will. We're looking to bet them over the total because the bullpens are going to be giving up some runs in bunches. Who do we like here? Worst 5 bullpens in baseball.
Yeah, the door's left open late, certainly for the Philadelphia Phillies. When David Hernandez is listed as your closer, you're in deep trouble. The Atlanta Braves have young Vizcaino, who could be a good closer, but the rest of that bullpen is just a mess. The Milwaukee Brewers, obviously, the rebuilding is on. The Brewers are going to have the door open late, 7, 8, and 9 for a lot of runs. The Detroit Tigers did nothing to improve their miserable bullpen from last year. And rounding out that, I would use the San Diego Padres. I think because their closer, Fernando Rodney, at least in my mind, is more flammable than the closers for Miami and Colorado. A.J. Ramos, for the Marlins, actually a very good closer. So I think because of Rodney in the 9th, San Diego probably rates as one of the 5 worst bullpens.
This is Rob Vino from Rob Vino Sports at Rob Vino Sports on Twitter. Rob, thank you so much for taking time with us. We're going to have part 2 of this discussion on Thursday.
Back on SportsBIT. Excellent job, Teddy. That was dynamite information with Rob Vino. And they still have a lot of ground to cover, so look for part 2 coming up Thursday here on SportsBIT. Brian Blessing tomorrow will talk Masters, and he had Zach Johnson last year at 125-1 to win the British Open, so we'll talk to Brian tomorrow. Did
Zach Johnson win the British Open?
Yeah.
Which tells you all I know about golf. Which is why we're having guests on for the majors, because I can't tell you anything about the Masters.
This guy gives out bombs all the time, and a lot of them come in. Okay, play of the day, Major League Baseball. We said we would get back to it early when we talked about the Giants. Where are we going, Teddy?
Let's go to Milwaukee and take a look at the San Francisco Giants and the Milwaukee Brewers over the total, sitting at 8 right now. And look, these two teams flew over the total yesterday. We talked about how we don't love Johnny Cueto. We talked about how we don't love Jimmy Nelson. We talked about how we don't love that Brewers bullpen. And oh, by the way, with a healthy Denard Span, that sets up the entire Giants lineup. What do you have, 5 RBIs yesterday? I think that he may well have a successful day today as well. Let's take the Giants and the Brewers over the total. That's the play of the day for today.
All right, let's make it money time. Let's go. Come on. Good selection there. We'll be back tomorrow on SportsBIT. Betting Insight today.